So I never really gave up the the whole wrestling figures, so much. I I took breaks, I think, in between. There for a while, like I was moving a lot and really, kind of still played, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything stable, and but I still cherished my wrestling figures. I had my ring, I had my figures, like that. We were inseparable. Because I didn't want anything to happen to them, Because I had a whole bunch of them, and I didn't want anything to happen to them. I mean, they're not gold jewelry or anything, but they're still valuable. Especially sentimentally, they're important to me. So I still played with them. I still had feds back and forth, and I kind of branched out more. I started doing the feds that were more mainstream, like WWF style. But then I also started getting into. I think that's when I started really kind of checking out the more like extreme, the extreme companies like CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, and a lot of like the indie feds, like Ring of Honor and stuff like that. So there was a time when I had two separate feds going. I had that. I had, the mainstream one that had, guys that were, wrestling in WWF at the time. Charlie Haas and Triple H and Chris Benoit, I think. I always liked creating my own characters. And that was one of my favorite parts about the wrestling games, like the SmackDown, games growing up, is I used to love creating superstars on there. To create a wrestler, like that was one of my favorite things. I mean, I could sit and play that game for 2 or 3 hours and just creating wrestlers. So, the other fed, the more indie style fed, was comprised of mostly made up guys, crude customs that I made, and I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was using the cheap apple barrel paint that you buy at Walmart, using the spray paint sealer that was glossy, but I had a lot of fun with it. Did some hardcore stuff, making barbed wire. Eventually learning that gold or silver glitter works well for thumbtacks. That like the CD jewel cases worked good for sheets of glass, panes of glass, all these different things, and just kind of learning as I went and all that stuff. So I had many different feds growing up. I had the WWF one. I had something called WWF Extreme with an X. I had like a UCWF, I think it was, like Ultimate Championship Wrestling Federation. I had UCWA, which was like Ultimate Championship Wrestling Association. All these different organizations, different names, different styles and stuff like that, and then eventually MXW was born, and MXW was a mix. It was a mixture. I decided, how about instead of having two separate companies, I just have one company and have big stars, that I liked, that I'd grown up with, but at the same time have, created superstars, and have different styles, have the mainstream kind of big match scenario like, WWF would, having hardcore or like ultra violent matches with glass and thumbtacks and stuff like that, having technical wrestling, high flying, whatever, just have a mix, That way I not only, that keep me happy. That would also, keep other people interested as well, because eventually I got to where I wanted to post these things online. Because eventually, you get to the age where you learn about the internet, and, you start wanting to share ideas. And I eventually found WrestlingFigs.com, and they have a forum. And once I found that, that was it. That was my validation, I guess. Because I found all these other people from all around the country, and even others in different countries, that were doing the exact same thing I was. That were playing with wrestling figures, that were putting on shows, having their own storylines, having their own champions, doing customs. That eventually became that was it for me. I was like, wow, I'm not the only person that does these things. And I'm not, it became a thing where you kind of get inspired, not only by the work of other people, but when you're posting your thing, when you're posting your shows and you're posting your ideas and stuff like that, and you're getting positive feedback, and you're getting people that are interested in what you're doing and that are fans of what you're doing, it's gratifying. So MXW started 2007, I want to say, and I was living with my then girlfriend at the time, and we had a spare bedroom in our place, which kind of became my room, became my wrestling room. That's where I set up my arena that I had at the time, little makeshift arena, which was essentially my ring and a backdrop, like a plain white backdrop, I believe. It might have been a pillowcase, but I started doing shows. MXW was born. I adopted, some of the stuff that had been in the former feds that I had, like the owner. I wanted him to be Danny Andrew Saint. That was, my owner, my Vince McMahon, pretty much. And I wanted a mix of created wrestlers mixed with guys from WCW, TNA, WWE, ECW, a nice melting pot of all these different things. And I wanted hardcore matches and high flying and big men like Bam Bam Bigelow and stuff like that, and all these different things. So I started with that and was really enjoying where it was going. I was enjoying having this fed and really doing a lot of good stuff. Really enjoying it, and that's the main thing. Enjoying it yourself. It's always nice to get the validation from other people and have other people interested, but if you're not having fun with it, there's no point.